We are going to the 11th floor to see the consulate of Romania, Consulat din Romania. Things were in front of me that I didn't even know. And so I redid a lot of the things. We are at the consulate of Romania in Chicago. Trying to renew my Romanian passport. We have some difficulties with it, but I have to get a new birth certificate replaced. So now I have to find someone in Romania that can actually give me that replacement through the power of attorney. So, or they'll give me a temporary note that I'm still able to travel. It's just coming back that I'd be worried about. Or maybe I should just get stuck there. And maybe I'll get a job.
There's the straight in, we go up there. I don't know. Just stop and turn around.
Okay, put them some edge. We're working on a documentary titled Given Our Chance. It's an opportunity that we were given, and now we would like to be able to share that. The purpose of the documentary is to actually inspire people who continue to live in struggle of situations as in orphanages, streets, and abandonment, to explain that there is hope out there in this world. One of the people that's we did a really long interview on was a producer from ABC News 2020, Janice Tomlin, because we wanted to find out from her perspective point of view. As a journalist, there had to be more than just a story for you to do a story all these 10 years of Romanian orphans. And so what we wanted to find out, why pursue a story all these years, and how did this impact you as a journalist, Well, the story impacted her life enough to where she adopted Katie from Romania, and the purpose of her doing the story was to actually explain to people that all these orphans needed homes. So by her doing the story, she hoped that people that saw this would actually do something to adopt or to even help Romanian orphans in Romania in general. So what we want to do with the documentary is hopefully that when people see this, it inspires them to do something great in life. That they have a desire, which most Romanians do after seeing the Pro TV show, and I've been contacted by so many. There isn't always a closed door just because you're stopped or because people put you down for what you're trying to do good in life. So I'm hoping that with this documentary, even the orphans or even the ones that struggle on the streets, when they see something like this, if these people can do it and they've experienced it and lived it, then why can't I? I can do this too. Plus, the story also focuses on the people that have made it possible and have inspired people to go out and do other projects and start bigger ones, The book that I wrote is titled Abandoned for Life, and it explains the story of my life in a Romanian orphanage, how I came to America, and how my life began to transform. Originally, it wasn't my intention to ever write a book. It was actually the people that gave me the idea after seeing me on TV in 1993, titled Take Me to America, which was produced by ABC News 2020. Now, the book can be purchased at abandonedforlife.com. It's a true story of not just my life, but a lot more Romanian orphans that I grew up with all these years. It explains the story of the struggles that I went through and the learning that I had to learn from it. And I believe that because of this book, a lot of Romanian orphans, a lot of people that have adopted Romanian orphans are able to see why so many Romanian orphans that struggle and go through the hard times that they do today, they can see why so many are struggling or have gone through that problem, because I went through those problems and now I explain them in the autobiography. But the book is also a hope, because now in the book it also explains of what I wanted to do for the Romanian orphans, for the other people that were left behind. My life in the orphanage was very different than the life that I could have had in Romania. But I don't regret anything that I went through, just so you know, off a first start. I lived in an institution with 500 children. Before communism even ended, that's where life was probably the hardest. With so limited staff and so many kids crammed into one building, that I can't blame the way that everything went. But after communism ended, new people came to work, teacher's aid, educatare we started receiving, and from there, that's where really hope came from, you know. There's a chapter in my autobiography that I call 7 Angels, the 7 people that I believe made the huge difference in our lives and believed that we were more than just orphans. And because of them is how I was able to live for as long as I was able to in Romanian orphanage. And today, I just hope that these people will always remember the great things that they have done for us, and that we lived, I believe, partially because of them. The 7 angels are actually in the book. Dina Codria, Ildi, Emilia, Mariana, Florica, Olga. Those are the 7 angels that I talk about that changed
So
our
those
lives.
are the Romanian
Those
workers.
were infirmiere cine a lucrat la Căminul Spital pentru deficient copii in 1909. I mean, how do you say 1990? Sorry.
1990.
In 1990. First time we had contact from foreigners was right after communists fell. And they were actually Germans, and they came on our floor, and every single one of us just freaked out.
Why was that?
We didn't freak out because of the way they looked. We freaked out because of the beard that they had, a white, long beard. We had never seen that, and we didn't know what it was. So of course we all started crying, we all freaked out, we didn't know what to do. And then just a few hours later, Marika asked me to go put shoes at the window so they could dry. And then as I looked out the window, 3 huge trucks of donation came in. When ABC aired their first show called Shame of a Nation in 1990, an American named John Upton did see that documentary. He was compelled and shocked by what he saw of the images. Shortly after seeing that documentary, he took a flight to Romania, and instead of staying there for 6 weeks, his odyssey turned into a 6 years trip of staying in Romania. His purpose of staying in Romania was to help find homes for the Romanian kids that needed family, or if they could even be brought over for medical treatment. When he came to the U.S., he showed a videotape to families of each child that he had interviewed and asked questions. And once he showed the tape, he asked them, would you be interested in adopting this child? He showed a videotape to my family, Marlis and Daniel Ruckel. And from the moment they saw that video, there was no questions asked, no comment to say. We will take him just as he is. And he tried to explain that I have mental issues, disability issues, and multiple problems. We do not care what his problem is. We want him, and we will adopt him and take him just the way he is.
Mm-hmm.
It took longer, I think, than they even expected. I think the whole process took almost a little bit over a year. Mm-hmm. And 6 months of it was due because Romania could not find my birth parents to be able to give consent for me to be taken to America. So it turned into a court trial, and the judge posted in the paper, radio, TV, and not once did they respond. And after 6-month trial, the judge finally said, "You may have him. He's all yours." When I left the orphanage, we went to baietii and then ate, and that was the first time I ever had a Coca-Cola. It was so good, I had to ask for another one. From there, we went to Bucharest. I stayed in Bucharest for 2 weeks. And then from Bucharest, we went to New York. We stayed at a very luxury hotel, and I thought America was already beautiful. From New York, we went to San Diego, California, and that's where I landed. When I landed, there were so many people there, I didn't even know who any of them were. And then I saw the people that I did recognize that did come from the orphanage. Colleen, Isabella, Anna, and so many more. And then I saw my mom and my dad, my family. And we decided to just walk around and take a look. And then I finally said, "Okay, I'm ready. Where's my room?" So when I landed at the airport, it was so big, I actually thought that the airport was my home, and I asked where my bedroom was. And of course, everybody laughed, found it very humorous, and they explained that this is just an airport, not your home. One of my dreams was that I didn't want to go to public school, but my family wanted me to be homeschooled, and after a couple of months, I was able to convince them to allow me to go to public school. Well, the public school did not teach me anything, is the honest truth. Their way of teaching was, "Let me read you the story, Izidor. Now just memorize the story, okay? So when you go home, pretend like you're reading the book," is what it was. So one day I did get a book as an assignment, and they said, "Take this book home and go read it at home." So I decided to read it, and my mom said, "I bet you can put that book behind your head and still read the book without looking at the words." And of course I did it. You know, I didn't catch the humor of the sarcasm she was telling me. And that's when I realized at that very moment what was really going on. Even though I come from a Romanian orphanage or an institution, my mentality could still function from right and wrong of a system. So from then on, I began being homeschooled. So while all the kids are having fun for the summer on vacation, I wanted to learn. And by the time summer was over, I actually started doing 7th grade math and 8th grade. And then my freshman year, I actually went back to public school, which was high school. Now, we never explained to the teachers, you know, that I'm adopted from Romania. I was never educated in Romania. Register, go to school, enjoy your life. And it was worth doing it that way because nobody knew who I was. I knew how to some English words like hello, thank you, and how to count to 10. But how did I learn English? I pointed at objects, and then they would translate it. You know, for example, glass, and I would memorize them. And then if I wanted to know, you know, phone, telephone, and then I'd memorize them. So within a year, I already started learning English just by pointing at objects.
So pretty much like a small baby when it learns for the first time the language.
You point, and it's explained to you what it actually is, and from there you start learning, memorizing it, and that's how you really have to learn if you've never been educated to know how to read it or write it. I didn't find English difficult to learn at all. Actually, I began speaking pretty decent English within a year after I came from Romania. I don't blame nobody. Everything that went on in the institution, educational-wise, the abuse, the neglection, I do not blame the system. I do not blame Romania for it. Sometimes, if you see the bigger picture out of all that, it's okay to suffer and go through all that if you learn something out of it, and if you carry that trauma with you and the affection that you went through, it's really going to haunt you, is my personal opinion on that. Well, the way that Romania worked back then, and this is before communist ended, you have to remember this, is that if you were any kind of mental issue or physical handicap, you weren't capable of learning, you weren't capable of doing anything. That's what they were taught, that's what they were educated. And as a human being, as an adult perspective point of view, you have to be able to look at that picture too. They only knew what they were educated on. So, no, I don't believe that no one should be blamed for this. It is what it is. It was what it was. When I got out of the San Diego airport, I had to stop. And the guy that was videotaping at the time was Alan Schreier. He stopped and he said, "What's wrong?" I have never, ever seen so many cars in my lifetime in a parking lot. And so that was a huge shock. You know, America has so many cars, it was unbelievable for me. So from the airport we drove to my house, and once the door opened, I walked in. It was nothing what I expected it to be, and it was only because of the homes that I've seen of Maria Onisha, Mari Cordelian, and Ildi Strömberg. Very cultural, popular, very tradition everything was. So when I walk into my new home in America, I thought, whoa, the walls are blank, there isn't very much things in here. And the difference was between Romanian home and an American home is that an American home was so much more bigger, you could afford, you have so much more room in everywhere you went. Compared to a Romanian home, it was smaller and everything just seemed like in a perfect alignment, you know. But I was not used to the American home for a long time, just because I've never been to a home where the walls were just white, you know, and everything was just so different. Even color-wise was different than what I was used to seeing. When I went to Temecula Valley High School, I've actually met great people out there. Never really had problems of being beat up, or I was made fun of a couple of times, sure, but that never affected me. And one of the things that I had the desire to do was be all the American baseball player that I could be. But for some reason the baseball leagues would never accept me because of my disability, and they're afraid of lawsuits, which is really stupid on their end. So I joined a bowling league, and I bowled for a while, and then I became a swimmer, and the swimming became the best part of all. When I became a swimmer, I did not know how to use my legs. I never used my legs when I swim, because when I use my legs, when I kick, I actually want to kick with my arms as well. And so it became confusing. So one day my coach said, "I'm going to work with you one-on-one for a couple of hours." Just a couple minutes of working with me, she said, "You know what? You're right. Don't use your legs, just use your arms, and you'll be stronger that way." Because at that very moment she realized it was impossible for me not to kick. It was impossible for me to be able to kick without using my arms to kick as well. So swimming ended up becoming my favorite sport, and I made it all the way to the California State Games, and I was really happy to have made it to that. Me and my two other sisters made it. And from there I received 2 bronze medals and 1 silver, and that was a shock because I didn't expect to actually even get anything. I was just honored enough and happy that I made it that far. When I first came to the U.S., I did go see a lot of doctors, it's true. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with my leg. And for the longest time, I just assumed I was born like this. Shriners Hospital in Los Angeles, California discovered 6 months later of seeing them that it was actually polio that I had. And polio is so uncommon in the United States that that's why it took so long for them to discover it. And I've had 6 operations on my right and left leg, 3 and 3. And even the operation could not fix the right leg for me to be able to walk as normal as I possibly could. Sometimes, yes, it's true, I'm embarrassed the way I walk. I don't like the way I walk, you know. But as long as I don't think about it, I don't even notice I have a disability. I don't even notice the way I walk until I see myself on a mirror or through a glass reflection. The operations did help, tremendously. My left leg was so severely damaged, it was twisted, and I had an extra, bone sticking out. So all my shoes would wear out within a couple of weeks to a month. So what they did is cut that bone off and twisted the leg back into correction. And, because of that, I'm able to walk much better on my left side. But I put so much pressure on that leg compared to the right one that it still does do a little bit of damage. Now don't get me wrong, Shriners Hospital did help me tremendously to the best of their ability of what they could do. But unfortunately, not even medical can save you or make you as normal as possibly you can. I'd say maybe in 1992 and 1993, I actually did become rebellious. And it wasn't bad at first. I was homesick. I wanted to see the people that I grew up with, the people that worked in the orphanage. And I think it made me so homesick that I started getting angry, frustrated, and I did not know how to really deal with them. So rather than dealing with it, I took my anger out on my family, you know. And some of the meanest things, some of the hateful things I possibly could say came out of me. And I dealt with that all the way till I was about 18 years old. Even in high school, I went through that. But for some reason, in high school, I seemed to do okay. I mean, I wasn't failing and I wasn't getting like bad grades or anything. I still seemed to function. But at the age of 17, I finally just left home and just stayed with a friend. And then I moved to San Jacinto, California with another friend that I work with. And I thought things would be easier and stability. I had a job, you know. I never had to look for a job. A job always came to me or was offered to me at that time. So I moved to San Jose. I tried to finish my education there and have been in Hemet for the most part after San Jose. I stayed in Hemet, California for 12 years. There came a time in my life where I was so rebellious that I actually tried to hit my dad. I don't know where it was coming from. I don't know if it had anything to do with the orphanage or the past, or if it was just really me being ungrateful and not even realizing the opportunity that I had been given all this time. It was just there. And there was a moment of time that I was going through that in some point in all that struggle, I even realized, what am I doing? I can't believe that these words are coming out of my mouth, but they did. In the time of my rebellious and anger and hateful, I did hope at times that my parents would say, you know what, you are too much for us to handle. You are not anything what we expected. We're going to send you back to the orphanage. But those words never came out. And I always hoped in my angriest moments that those would come out. I don't know, negative seemed to make me happy at the time. But those words never came out. Instead, I love you, we're always here, we're never going to send you back. And it's amazing when you look back at life how positive they were. They were not going to destroy your life no matter what. They were not going to put you or give you away for what you were doing to them. And because of all these things that my parents and my sisters went through, it actually ended up helping them in the long run, because my parents decided, after we all moved out on our own, they started doing foster care. And so all the problems that I put them through, and it actually becoming a lesson for them to know how to deal with other people that go through the same thing that I did in foster care. My parents had 3 natural girls, and then they adopted one, which was me, and then Isabella was brought over for medical treatment. But because Isabella was actually was on a whole different status, she's here on legal status, but she would never be able to go to Romania. As we all grew up, I was the first one to move out, and we all ended up moving out sooner or later. And then, of course, my parents wanted to do something more. So they started doing foster care, and they started off with teenagers, and it went down to little kids. And now they stopped doing foster care now, because the last children that came in was all brothers and sisters, and they had been there for almost a little bit over a year. And the state, explained to them, tomorrow we're going to take all these kids out, and they're all going to be split up into separate homes.
But those were American kids.
Those are all American kids, and my mom and dad did not like them. How is it that you're going to separate families from families when they've already been through a damaging situation, and you seem to want to split them up? How are they going to be a family if you keep splitting them? So my parents thought, you know what? They're not going anywhere. We're going to adopt them all. So they ended up adopting all 6 of them, and I tell you, my parents have done some great work in this world. And you know, one girl that came into the foster care, she was just a young girl, and when I first saw her, I thought, oh my gosh, she looks like she just came from the orphanage, and I literally thought she was going to die. She couldn't talk, she couldn't move, and she was nothing but skeleton. Today, I see her, she's just an average kid who made it in life thanks to my parents. How did I forgive people after what they did, and how was I able to move forward after that? Well, it's a hard question to really answer because people want the answer to that, but the answer that you give them is not the answer they really want to hear. So I will give you the honest answer that I've been given to everyone. If you want to forgive someone, if you want to move on with your life, yes, somewhere in your heart you have to find it to forgive them for everything that went wrong, for everything that they did to you. How did I find that to be able to do that? Someone once said, if you want your Heavenly Father to forgive you for the crimes or for the sins or for the things that you have done wrong, how can He forgive you if you cannot forgive those who have done wrong to you? And I believe that, you know, it's a passage that strongly relates to, if you do not forgive those people for what they did, I cannot forgive you either. So if I want God's forgiveness for the things that I have done in life, then I have to learn how to forgive them. And not only that, when I actually forgave them for everything that went wrong, for everything that happened to me, it made me actually, I think that's part of the reason why all the burden finally came off me. And I carry such passion for those people even to this day. If I go to Romania, sure, things are going to be very different because now that they've seen me on Romanian TV, me saying this, sure, they might look at me differently. But some of the people, especially the 7 angels, will always be with me forever. Dina, Emilia, and Mariana, and Florica, 4 of them, lived close by. So they all got off one night at the same time. And we all went home. I even went home because Dina took me home to stay with her for the night. And on the way home, I noticed something. We are going to the 11th floor to see the consulate of Romania, Consulat din Romania. Things were in front of me that I didn't even know. And so I redid a lot of the things. We are at the consulate of Romania in Chicago. Trying to renew my Romanian passport. We have some difficulties with it, but I have to get a new birth certificate replaced. So now I have to find someone in Romania that can actually give me that replacement through the power of attorney. So, or they'll give me a temporary note that I'm still able to travel. It's just coming back that I'd be worried about. Or maybe I should just get stuck there. And maybe I'll get a job.
There's the straight in, we go there. I don't know. Just stop and turn around.
Okay, put them some edge. We're working on a documentary titled Given Our Chance. It's an opportunity that we were given, and now we would like to be able to share that. The purpose of the documentary is to actually inspire people who continue to live in struggle of situations as in orphanages, streets, and abandonment, to explain that there is hope out there in this world. One of the people that's we did a really long interview on was a producer from ABC News 2020, Janice Tomlin, because we wanted to find out